Um, Good day, everyone. To some of you, I hope they join us while the meeting goes on. So I will use this medium to invite to go through what we'll be having for today. First and foremost, I would like to welcome every participant, everybody who is available live online now to this August occasion, and the program is titled Meet a Specialist. And I would ask our participants, we're supposed to have more participants, but let's hope they come online on time while the program is going on. But I would use this medium to invite each and every welcome each and every one of us that is live. That the program is slated to happen for just 2 hours, marked as maximum, a minimum of 1 hour, and it's where we talk about the fundamentals of graphics design. Before I move in depth, I would like us to introduce ourselves. Each participant to introduce themselves, what they do, and what are their expectations for this August occasion. Thank you very much. So
Starting from who?
so I'll let's make a Babatunde. Let's hear you. Baba, I can see Babatunde
Okay.
Yusuf.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Morning, sir. Morning, sir. My own name is Babatunde Yusuf Folonsho.
Please
My own name is
can you
Babatunde
tell us
Yusuf
what you do?
Folonsho.
Can you tell us what you do?
I'm a learner in graphic design.
Okay. So what are your expectations like?
I'm a learner, like, yes.
What are your expectations like? What do you expect to get from this training? Do you get the question?
Oh,
My
yes,
question
yes.
is what do you expect to get from this training?
Okay, my expectation is to know the basis of design, fundamental of design, and what my this thing, what my okay, all my client needs, what my what my what my hello,
Yeah,
can you
yeah,
hear me?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go
We can
ahead.
hear you.
I want to know what my client needs for me for my design.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your
Oh,
expectations.
all
While we
right,
await
thanks.
every other speaker, every other participant to join in, I would like to move to the next agenda. That is introduction, a brief introduction of the topic, and why we are having this program. And I think that is what I first established while we are working on this. The first thing we established was what the program is meant for. Well, Meet a Specialist is a project of Roncloud Technology, where we invite specialists on different areas of tech that focuses on a specific field or career, and in the tech industry, and then they will expose anybody who participate in the training to what makes up the field and career. That's what are the things they should look out for, what are the core tools needed, what are the how do they get their clients, how can they push themselves out there, how can they introduce themselves to the world. Now participants will have the opportunity to ask the specialist about things that are unclear about the field or career. That is, getting to know more better about the field and career by asking the things that are unclear to them. Then why the specialists will use their own expertise, that's their own exposure and experience, to help participants navigate and expose them to the field and career. So that is the major purpose why we are having this August occasion, titled Meet a Specialist. So the specialist we have on board today is Design by Melody. So I will give a brief introduction of Design by Melody, and I will introduce him to give us our keynote speech. And throughout the keynote speech, he will give us the fundamentals of things he knows about what graphic design is all about, the fundamentals of graphic design. And then our participants are welcome to ask any questions. So any questions that they deem it fits, that they think it will be more glaring, let them ask, and we will take it from there. Now, the person Design with Melody was born Ayalogbe Melody, who graduated from the University of Lagos, UNILAG, where he studied cell biology and genetics. Now, he started his design career about 4 years ago while serving in Ondo State. That was when he was doing his youth service. He has worked with various companies along the way, starting with Bincom ICT Solutions. That's where he began his careers before moving to Easy Commerce Hub and then First World Tech, Divine Events, Trace and Lee, Cubion Communications, among others. He's currently working as a freelancer, a product designer, web designer, and a graphic designer. He's also the head of branding at Bella Media NG. My personal experience with Design with Melody, I met him at an SDG program. He was the trainer of graphic design at the program, which happened in Surulere, where he trained on what it takes to be a graphic designer, and through him I was exposed to many things that are unclear to me personally. Now, this is a personal testimony on graphics, and he elaborated more and gave an insight on how to navigate through, and that's why he has been invited to this August occasion. So I would want you to joyfully welcome the specialist of today, Design with Melody. So I'll be handing over to him now.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity, actually, to share the little knowledge I have with graphics, how to impact lives with the little I know, and welcome newbies and starters into this side of tech. As I say, tech is actually large, but this is actually a graphics aspect when it comes to ICT tech. And graphics actually is wide. Okay, let me give you a brief fundamental about where I started from. I graduated UNILAG 2016, served in Ondo State 2017, 2018. That was where I started my designs. Then went to graphics, started the basics. Then did some research, did some internship. Then I did some internship and all that. I'm 4 years on. Please, you can mute your mic. Yeah, thank you. So that don't be interfering. 4 years on, we're still going strong. And I can tell you, with this skill of graphics of mine, I've been able to meet people I didn't actually imagine I could meet in my whole entire existence. For real. I've met with people, I've met with great minds. It has linked me up with people, got connections with lots of individuals I can't mention the names. But worldwide, I won't lie to you, not just Nigeria as a whole. But the main important thing is to know what you're doing. That's the thing. Because your design speaks for you. You don't need people when your designs are not good. You don't need people when you're not able to project their write-ups or like their imaginations. There's a popular saying by Pablo Picasso: everything you can imagine is real. It is. It's just for you to bring your imaginations to life, and that's what design does. Graphic design brings your imagination, gives you that deep insight, how to bring write-ups and words into life. You bring life, just giving write-ups and tell you, okay, this is what I want. Now it's now up to you to, okay, give that write-up a life, give it a meaning, bring it down to life, and yeah, scale the expectation. But then, for you to do that, you need to actually know the fundamentals of graphics design. It's what we call principles of design. It's um, things you need to know in order for you to achieve a good design, in order for you to bring out, to project your. Good morning. If you're joining, please mute your mic. Thank you. Please mute your mic. So we don't get a feedback. It's okay. So please mute your mic. Okay, as I was saying, so these are things basically you need to know about graphics. You need to know the fundamentals. For you to grow, there are things you need to understand about graphic design to have at the back of your mind. Okay, these are the rules that guides us when before you approach any project, before you start dealing with high client project and all those things. These are the things you need to know. These are the fundamentals you need to know about designs. I'm going to be sharing my screen, so probably I'll just share some PDF files and read through, then move down to the principles of design things and the fundamentals. I don't know. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go on. First of all, let's introduce what graphic design is and basics. Say to better understand the meaning of graphics design, it is important to be aware of the elements and principles that makes up designs. Elements are used in conjunction or opposition with each other to create visually striking and impactful design. These are the elements basically you need to come up with a design. You need to know colors, you need to know forms, lines and shapes, size, space, texture. And these are the fundamentals of design basically. Okay, let's check this. Sorry. These are the fundamentals of designs. So the basics of art and more. So the fundamentals of design are foundations of every visual medium, from lines, from fine arts to modern web designs. So no matter what you're designing, if it's a web design, if it's UI design, if illustration, if motion, whatever design you're coming up with, you need to know the basics. You need to know that these are the fundamentals. These are the things you need to have at the back of your mind. And every other design you come up with, you will need these to actually come up with any designs. As it they are even present in seemingly unimportant details, like the fonts that makes up the most composition. Okay, let me put it this way. If you still have questions while I'm going, you can always call my attention and just ask questions as the class goes on. Okay. So what do these examples have in common? So some very basic elements, including lines. Everything you form, every design you make, they are all as basics, including lines, shapes, forms, texture, and balance. They might not seem like much on their own, but together they are part of almost everything you see in it. Everything you see and create are all compositions of this: lines, shape, form, texture, and balance. All these must have balance. Without balance, it's not a good design. When I mean balance, it must be, you know, as a good artist, if you're designing and something is not balanced, you know, you feel it. It's something called you feel it within you. And once it's balanced, you know, it's what they call white space as well, which means the empty space. Right? So these are lines, shapes, form, and texture. It must balance. It must balance for you to have a good design. Get what it means. So the fundamentals can be intimidating at first, especially if you don't consider yourself as an artist. But keep an open mind. There's a lot they can teach you about working with different assets and creating simple visuals from scratch. And this is a video. I don't know if we have time to go through the video. Let me see how many minutes. About 6 minutes plus. Okay, let's just run through this and see.
The fundamentals of design are the basis of every visual medium, from fine art to modern web design. Even small details, like the fonts that make up most compositions. What do these examples have in common? Some very basic elements, including line, shape, form, texture, and balance. They might not seem like much on their own, but together, they're part of almost everything we see and create. The fundamentals can be intimidating, especially if you don't consider yourself an artist. However, there's a lot they can teach you about working with different assets and creating simple visuals from scratch. Let's start at the beginning with one of the most basic elements of all, the line. A line is a shape that connects two or more points. It can be fat or thin, wavy or jagged. Every possibility gives the line a slightly different feel. Lines appear frequently in design, for example in drawings and illustrations, and graphic elements like textures and patterns. They're also common in text compositions, where they can add emphasis, divide or organize content, or even guide the viewer's eye. When working with lines, pay attention to things like weight, color, texture, and style. These subtle qualities can have a big impact on the way your design is perceived. Look for places where lines are hiding in plain sight, for example in text. Even here, experimenting with different line qualities can give you very different results. A shape is any two-dimensional area with a recognizable boundary. This includes circles, squares, triangles, and so on. Shapes fall into two distinct categories: geometric, or regular, and organic, where the shapes are more freeform. Shapes are a vital part of communicating ideas visually. They give images heft and make them recognizable. We understand street signs, symbols, and even abstract art largely because of shapes. Shapes have a surprising number of uses in everyday design. They can help you organize or separate content, create simple illustrations, or just add interest to your work. Shapes are important because they're the foundation of so many things. Learn to look for them in other designs, and soon you'll start seeing them everywhere. When a shape becomes 3D, we call it a form. Forms can be three-dimensional and exist in the real world, or they can be implied, using techniques like light, shadow, and perspective to create the illusion of depth. In two-dimensional design, form makes realism possible. Without it, a bouncing rubber ball is just a circle. A 3D building is just a series of rectangles. Even flat designs use subtle techniques to hint at form and depth. In everyday compositions, the purpose of form is the same, but on a smaller scale. For example, a simple shadow can create the illusion of layers, or give an object a sense of place. Basic forms can bring a touch of realism to your work, a powerful tool when used in moderation. Texture is the physical quality of a surface. Like form, it can be three-dimensional, something you can see and touch, or it can be implied, suggesting that it would have texture if it existed in real life. In design, texture adds depth and tactility to otherwise flat images. Objects can appear smooth, rough, hard, or soft, depending on the elements at play. For beginners, textures make great background images and can add a lot of interest to your work. Look closely, and you may find texture in unexpected places, like distressed fonts and smooth, glossy icons. Just be careful not to go overboard. Too much texture in a single design can quickly become overwhelming. Balance is the equal distribution of visual weight. In other words, how much any one thing attracts the viewer's eye. Balance can be affected by many things, including color, size, number, and negative space. Mastering balance can be tricky for beginners because it does take some intuition. Luckily, the design world is full of examples that can help you understand its different iterations. Symmetrical designs are the same or similar on both sides of an axis. They feel balanced because each side is effectively the same, if not identical. Asymmetrical designs are different, but the weight is still evenly distributed. The composition is balanced because it calls attention to the right things. Many people use a strategy called the rule of thirds. This imagines your work area divided into a 3x3 grid. The focal point of the image is placed on or near one of these lines, creating visual balance with the rest of the space. We find this type of composition appealing because, according to studies, the human eye naturally follows this path when scanning a design. The fundamentals of design are all about the bigger picture. In other words, learning to appreciate the many small details that make up every composition. This insight can be applied to almost any type of project, whether you're creating your own graphics or just looking for simple ways to enhance your work. Thanks for joining us for the fundamentals of design. Check out the rest of our design topics, including color, typography, and more.
So guys, welcome back. So from this video which we just watched, basically, we're just talking about the fundamentals of design, which we are talking about. That for you to achieve a very good design, these are the fundamentals you need to know. These are the things that comes into play. The lines, the shape, forms, texture, and it must be balanced. That is the thing. And there are some mistakes which beginners do, which means more like they tend to more like, especially when it comes to balance, how to balance a design. There are some bad examples of designs. Let me see if I can show you some bad designs. Let's see. Okay. Let me look for a flyer. Flyer designs. Okay, yeah. See. I don't know if we can see this here. Yeah, but if we can, by this side, where my mouse is highlighting. And
yes, we can. From my own end, I can see it clearly.
Okay. Then, if we look at this, you just know this is a bad design. It's not actually following the fundamentals and principles of design. There's no balance. There's no call to action. What your eye takes you for, what your eye sees first when it sees the design is just everywhere. There's no alignment. It's just scattered. These are examples of bad designs which you don't want to do. The font style is actually terrible. You don't use this kind of font when doing this kind of design flyer. Font actually matters. There's some kind of font you don't make use of when doing some kind of designs. The kind of designs, the kind of project you're working on determines the kind of font you make use of as well. So combinations of all these lines, shape, and texture gives you a very good design. These are what forms a good design. It's a line. Line is a shape that connects two or more points. It can be flat, thin, wavy, or jagged, just like the video says, depending on the width and all, and how you want to make use of. Combination of all these lines can actually form a texture which you can use in your design. Um, Illustrations basically means of lines. People that works on Illustrator, illustration, there's some part of designs that they call illustrations. People that does illustrations basically. It's basically lines, shapes, and shadow to bring out depth and all this perspective, all that. So these are fundamentals. See, lines appear frequently in designs, for example, in drawing and illustrations. They are also common in graphics elements like texture, pattern, and background. For example, if we look at this, these are combinations of lines, forms pattern, which can be used as a background, and forms also a texture. You can call it a texture. These are all lines, and this is aligned to the middle. Look at that point. And line can be used in more humble composition to form organization, emphasis, and just decoration. So in the example below, lines have been used to create a flow chart that guides the reader's eyes from one element to the next. Okay, this is a flow chart actually. People working in UI design, so actually UI UX knows this. You have to create a flow chart. It guides you, okay, from one next to the other. Okay, we know this gives birth to this three, and this one gives birth to this two. Why this take it down to this? It guides your eyes. This combination of light guides your eyes. You know, okay, from this I'm going to this, from this I'm going to this. Simple things like this matters in designs. You need to know how to use all these elements. So when working with lines, pay attention to things like weight, which matters, color, texture, and style. These subtle qualities can have a big impact on the way your design is perceived. This, for example, the weight of this shadow. This is actually lighter. You can see this as a shadow. This is texture, and this is just a form. It's in a curvy wave style. All these matters depending on how you want to use it and where you're making use of the lines. Because you don't use this where you're supposed to use this. You don't use this where you're supposed to use this and out. You need to know where to use this as part. So look for places where lines are hidden in plain sight. For example, in text. Even here, experimenting with different line qualities can give you very different results. This, for example, no pattern. These are lines, and this is also a red line. Color, which means no danger. And shapes. Shapes are basically your circular, your elliptical, your square, your star, triangle. All these also are used in design. These are design elements that you need to know that are mainly used when forming up a design. The shapes falls into two distinct category: geometric or irregular, and organic, where the shapes are more freeform. Examples of geometric is your organic. Shapes are vital, part of communicating ideas visually. They give images heft and make them organizable. To understand street signs, symbols, and even abstract arts, largely because of shapes. For example, when you see this, you're working, you know this is stop based on the shape and the color. Even without the write-up, for example, you take out this write-up stuff, but once you see this shape and you see this sign, this red sign, you know automatically it comes to your mind that this is a stop sign without being told. You know, that's what shapes does. And that's what elements and all this, for example, is an art and all. Shape have a surprising numbers of users in everyday design. They can help you organize or separate content, create simple illustration, or just add interest to your work. See if you can spot the many examples in the image below. These are just examples of shapes. Okay, we saw this in the videos. Okay, shapes are important because they are the foundation of so many things. Learn to look for them in other designs, and soon you start seeing them everywhere. No matter what you want to form, no matter designs, the kind of design you want to design bring out, you must make use of shape. Help form a design without making use of either rectangle stock. These are the basics. These are things you need to use to form a design. They are just the basic. You form your canvas which you work on, your canvas, your rectangle canvas which you work on a design, it's shape. It's a rectangle shape or a square shape. You need a shape. So icons, these are shapes. You can use it to form tools and all. Services, your layouts, shape. And just like what they say in biology, then combination of cells makes an organ. An organ, combination of organ makes a system. A system makes a tissue. Combination of cell makes tissue. Tissue forms organ. An organ forms a system, just like that. So this is just something similar. Your lines, combination of lines put together forms a shape, and your shapes forms your design. And your design needs to have balance. Then you've given it the texture, add depth and inspection. Texture, shadows, highlights, all these just they give your design depth and feel because they communicate a sense of feel to the audience. Then form. For example, this is a 3D form. So when the shape becomes 3D, we call it form. Form makes up a variety of things in the real world, including sculpture, architecture, and other three-dimensional objects. But when you remove this 3D, it's just basically a shape. Forms this kind of an arc shape face. And all these shadows and highlights, the lights gives it this form of depth and the perspective where you see it from. You see it from the angle that you. What perspective just means just that how you see it and where you see it from. The angle of light. These are what perspective is all about. How you see it in the real world. These are what you combine together that gives you a very good design. Okay, this is it without the texture. This is without texture. This is the highlights, the shadows. This is how you see it. This is perspective. Where you see it from this angle. Why this is just a normal ellipse to your rectangle circle, but with if you look at it closely, you see these highlights. It means light and shadows. These are what makes it real. But once you take out all this, it's just a flat set. These are just the basics. These are things you need to make. Probably want adding depth and realness to your design. So even images that are less realistic, this is similar texture to create dimension below. The lighting and shadow are stylized, but still hints at form and depth. This is a simple design, but they just make use of shadow. This is shadow. This is highlight. If you look at here, there's a shadow here. I gave you this depth. Here, there's a shadow. Here is darker than here. There's highlights, there's a shadow. These are simple image, but gives it technical units are just light and shadow, gives it a depth. So in everyday composition, the purpose of form is the same, but on a similar scale. For example, a simple shadow can create the illusion of layers or give an object a sense of place. Okay, I think I was working on a simple flyer some time ago, yesterday. I can show you. Just still going on for. Go back to that. This is just a simple flyer. This is just a menu kind of flyer, A4 but in landscape way. If you look at this drip coffee tea, they added shadow to give it a form of depth. While this coffee tea, they added a shadow also to make it fit in place. It's resting on something. But without all these shadows, it's flat. These are what they do. The basic fonts can bring a touch of realism to your work, which is a powerful tool when you use moderation. You have to be careful when using all this also as well. So you don't go overboard, you don't mess up your design, because too much of everything really is bad. There's what they call simplicity. Simplicity is key. You need to give your design the simplest form it can, but also present it in a way that everything feels balanced and not overboard. Texture is a physical quality of the surface. Like forms, it can be part of three-dimension objects. When you're talking about 3D and all, these, for example, these are textures. Forms of texture. or it can be implied through illustration, suggesting that it will feel texture if it exists in real life. This is an illustration, but we added texture to make you know, okay, this is how it looks like or feel in real life, or based on how you're using it. So in design, texture and add depth and tactility to otherwise flat images. Objects can appear smooth, rough, hard, or soft depending on elements to play. Texture matters. See, for beginner, texture makes great background images and can add a lot of interest to your work. Look closely and you may find texture in unexpected places like distressed fonts and smooth, glossy icons. Even your font also mixes of texture. For example, this is a web design, web page. Texture is used as the background, while this is just simple. It shows you the information you want to pass across. You need to learn how to make it simple. Don't go about. When you start adding texture on this now, then it becomes too crowded. Just be careful not to go overboard. Too much texture in a single design can quickly become overwhelming, which is true. You don't want to give out this is a bad design. Textures everywhere. Texture the background is nice, but then you're now adding it on those whites. It's killing it. It doesn't look good. This is a bad design. So you need to be careful when using texture. You need to know when to stop. You need to know when to use it. You need to know the designs that don't need it. It's a balance. Balance is the equal distribution of visual elements. More specifically, how much any one element attracts the viewer's eyes. Balance can be affected by many things, including color, size, number, and negative space. This negative space can also be called white space. For example, you look at this design. This is here, and this 4 is here. They are balanced. Balance also has to do with alignment. And design is what we call alignment. How do you align it? Is it to center? Is it to left? Is it to the right? Even if you align it to the right or to the left, it needs to be balanced. If you're doing it at the center, it needs to be balanced. So you need to know alignment as well. They are all interwoven, they are connected to each other. So all these things are just connected to each other. Balance, alignment, texture, your lines, your shapes, and all. They are connected. You need to, there's no way you can know one without knowing the other. Even your colors as a whole, color speaks. The color gives some vibes, some feelings, and to your customers, to your clients. The kind of colors you make use of as well matters. It gives us a kind of balance. There's some designs you just see and you just know, no, this is not right. I'm not feeling this. Based on color, based on font. There's some fonts you use in a design that doesn't go with some kind of design. You have to play around with fonts to know which font actually works best with designs. For fonts, I can tell you sometimes I can use a full day searching for the right fonts to use in a design. Currently, there's a book cover I'm working on. And font has actually been giving me issues. I don't know if I can show you guys. Okay, it's allowed. See, this is a book cover design, for example. Currently working on this. These fonts, this Photoshop, let me sketch. The long walk, it's called the long walk. But if you notice, there's a texture to this font. Gives it the kind of 3D kind of illusion. Here's where texture plays in. I did some kind of texture, but like gives it highlights and shadows and all this. It gives this text a form of depth. It's different from this. This one there is no depth to it. All these lines you're seeing here, these are probably guides. The guides need to know that okay, I don't exceed here when designing, and I make use of a center alignment. It gives it a form of balance. Here and here, everything must be distributed equally. It must be balanced. Then here, the subjects, the message you're trying to pass across, and all that. Then person's name comes down and all that. This is a simple cover design. I'm still working on this. I'm not done anything. Just showing you guys. So to understand what exactly this design fundamentals actually mean. These are the things you need to know. The shapes, your lines, texture, all that. So back to what we're doing. Okay, say mastering balance can be tricky for beginners because it does took some intuition. Luckily, the design world is full of examples that can help you understand its different iterations. For example, this if you look at this design, the images is placed on the right side of me, the right side, while the text is at the left. But is they still feel balance? Yeah, balance. But one thing is one side, and this is this. When you look at this design, for example, this is what you get to see first. Picture. Then this calls your eyes. Then this pictures. Before any sub topic, any subheading, before someone can read this, you want them to see this and this first. All my beautiful pictures. You want them to see this first. Then if they're interested, they can now start reading every other thing that follows. So, okay, symmetrical designs are the same or similar on both sides of the axis. They feel balanced because each side is effectively the same, if not identical. This, for example, this line shows their balance. Asymmetrical designs are different, but the weight is still evenly distributed. The composition is balanced because it's called attention to the right. In the example, the person's name and company logo. This, for example, this is a business card. This is a business card. This can be the person's logo. This can be the person's details. Or very simple but balanced and evenly distributed. The white space or the negative space are balanced. They're all balanced. These are negative space. When you balance, then this the logo is balanced to the left hand side, person's name the right hand. Many people, including designers and photographers, use a strategy called the rule of third. This image work, imagine your work are divided into 3 by 3 grid. Even your cameras have it. If you go to your camera, go to the settings, you see a grid system. Photographers make use of this. The focal point of the image is placed on or near one of the grid lines, creating visual balance with the rest of the space. So, for example, you don't want to put this image at the middle. This is basically on your movies, even video directors and all that. If you watch some kind of scenes, some shots, they don't just place the person in the middle, they give it some kind of, they put it at the side. So that in case they want to write any write up here, gives it that balance. They can add anything here, they can add the person's name or title or whatever here. These are balanced. We find this type of composition appealing because, according to studies, the human eyes naturally follows this path when scanning the design. That follows this path. You get to see this. Putting it all together, the fundamentals of designs are all about the bigger picture. In other words, learning to appreciate the many small details that makes up every composition. Your shape, your form, shadow, balance, texture, lines. Your font is line, combination of lines. So the insights can be applied to almost any type of project, whether you are creating your own graphics or just looking for simple ways to enhance your work. See, design speaks louder than words. That's true. So for the person that asked a question earlier, he said, "What my client needs." Your clients will come to you and ask you, okay, basically, this is what they want. Uh, this is this is my idea. This is what I have in mind for my brand or my business or this project. Now your job is to bring what they need into reality, to give it life. And you can only do that when you understand the fundamentals of all these designs. You know, okay, how to use lines, you know how to use your colors, you know how to use your textures, how to use your shape and all forms of designs, your elements, your design elements. These are just basic things you need to know and the kind of tools. Then we're not going to, I don't know if we can go into tools of designs and all that. So many tools of that, your Corel Draw, your Photoshop, your Illustrator and all that. But without you even before you dive into using tools, going to designing tools and all that, you need to know the fundamentals. These are the principles. These are the things you need to really know about designs. These are what you need to eat, digest, and understand. Okay, as a designer, you need to know this at the back of your mind, of heart. You need to know, okay, my design elements, the rules I need to know about designs. The possibilities of the designers are limitless. They are. The designer for it, they are limitless. You can work in different companies and different environments. For you achieving that, you need to know the fundamentals. You need to know your rules, your elements, how to use. And these are just basically the fundamentals you need to know. These are other things, but basically these are the fundamentals of design. You need to know your lines, you need to know your shape, you need to know your texture, you need to know balance. These are things. These are all what comes together to give you a good design. There's no good design you see out there that doesn't apply any of these rules. It doesn't apply any of these fundamentals, any of these stuff. So, if you have questions, you can ask me. I think I'll be attending to questions now.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate the class, and it was quite interesting. And I think it's time for questions and answer, or what we call ask me anything. Now, please, if you're to ask any question, ask question based on the class we had today, as in based on graphics. And while waiting for question, I have my own personal questions. And my first question, Mr. Melody, are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, my first question is there was a design you showed to us about the long walk.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how did you get the concepts you used in the design? Because to me it is eye catching, as in it is looking at the cover of the book. Yes, that one in particular. Yes, this one. Now,
Okay.
the my first question is, how do you get this concept? Because I can see it. It seems as if there's someone's head, facial
Yeah.
body, and inside it, there's someone walking towards a door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one concept, and the second one, I don't know if you will be chanced. My second question is, can we have a special class where you can train on how to use either any of those tools that we can use for design? But basically, you're giving us a fundamentals. That's things we need to consider, things we need to know before we move into design. So after this class, can we just create a class whereby you can just show us how to use these tools? So these are my questions.
Coming to your question, Raymond, if there will be a class after this, currently, I would say currently I'm everywhere. I'm occupied, but we can always work out something to see if we can come up with a class for how to show you how to use the tools, design tools, and all that. Then we can talk about that later on, basically. Yeah. Then when coming down to this design, long work, we're talking about the client wants more like this idea. Clients will tell you basically, most clients will tell you, uh, this is what I want. Even from the name alone, it will tell you, okay, this is what I want, the long walk, raw walk. A story, it's more like, as a designer, you should be able to tell the story. The design to tell stories, that's the thing. You don't just put out design because you want to put out design. You need to know, okay, the story behind each and every design you create. It tells a story. You you tell the audience, okay, this is what is in my head when I was creating this. This is how I see this at this moment. But this design, basically, um, this is more like a slow design of these forms. The person is a picture of the person, basically.
Wow.
So it's a journey. It talks about the life, more like how this person, where he started from, and where he's going to. Basically, it's not there yet. There's always a room for improvement in one's life. So this basically just talks about, okay, This is the long walk. This is where I started. This is where I am, and this is where I'm going. There's a door. That door shows more like, okay, I'm walking into this. This is the person I want to be. This is where my goal is. So these are just combinations of different elements to form up a design. This is the background is a texture and all that. If you look at this side, this is Photoshop, these are layers. You see different, so many layers to form up all these. This is a picture. This is a person picture of this now. You won't see it there anymore. Yeah. These are all combinations of all different elements to form up a design. And this actually tells a story. The person is walking towards a goal, a long walk, it's a book. Walking towards a direction, walking towards a goal. And in that door, there's a light, kind of a light. It shows, okay, yeah, this is my direction, this is what I'm going to. And when you look at this person, this is a person. Then, when I talk about shadows and lights, add depth and perspective to something, to an image. This is a person, and this shadow tells you, okay, this is where the light is coming from. Normally, if you stand outside and sun is from a direction, you look at your back, you see a shadow. The way you see things outside in the real world, you should be able to come up with something like that in your design, replicate it in your designs. So this shadow gives a form of depth to this person. I can take it off. Let me see. If I take it off, it doesn't look real. What is this? You see?
Wow.
Even if the person just standing there, it
Wow. Wow. Wow.
form of depthness to it. So shadows, how little shadow is that form of depth. It's just as if this person is just standing just on its own without actually giving it a form of belonging, a sense of belonging. But with this now, the feeling comes back. You get?
Hmm.
So that's just what the idea. You need to be able to pass a message with your design. The way you think also matters. You need to be creative. You need to tax yourself, think deep, and also be able to channel your thoughts into designs. I don't know if I was able to answer your question. Really.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay, I think we have another question here from Babatunde Yusuf for Lonshaw. He
Okay.
said, how can we know the right elements to use?
Wow. How can we know the right elements to use? That's a tricky one, but okay. Let me answer it this way. Um, there's what we call, if you want to design, as a good designer artist, you must have your pen and your paper to sketch your ideas first. You don't just jump into software, your Photoshop, your Illustrator, and want to design. You must be able to sketch your ideas first on paper, on a piece of paper. Sketch it. Okay, this is what I want to do. This is what they call wireframe. Just for example, this is a wireframe. Your design will just line and papers and all that. Sketch it. There's something they always say. If you feed your eyes to a good designs, you always come up with good designs. You don't feed your minds and your eyes to jumps, to crazy designs, stupid designs, and expect to come up with a good design. You know, the kind of designs you look, the kind of designs you see. There are sites you can go for inspirations. There are sites you can go for motivations. You see designs, you see good stuff, and you know, okay, yes, I can use this for the designs. It, the proper stuff, depending on what you want to design, then you know, okay, this will actually go with what I want to design. This will actually go with what I want. This will actually go with the kind of design I want to do. And the perspective of that image and all. For example, okay, you want something to, they want to see it from the middle, and you're given a design, you want to bring out an element from either from that doesn't give that view. it comes naturally. I don't know if I can explain it properly, but it's something that comes to you naturally as an artist. Or like you know, okay, this won't work for this. This will work for this. There are sites, for example, okay, let me go take it to Texas. Texas is one popular site that gives you images, even iStock. Like images of iStock most times. So they're not free. You can get free images. This is where I got the dog from iStock. The one I made is of this is the dog. This is it. The one I made is of this design. Yeah.
Wow.
I got it from iStock. I got it from here.
Wow.
This is it. Yeah, that's the image. This is it. So you just know, for when you're searching for items to use in your design, you will know when you see it. When you see it, you will just know that okay, this will work. There are so many, but then I just had to pick this because see, there's so many. I was searching for jobs. This, for example, this is another example of the job. I know this might not give me what I want. This, for example, won't give me what I want. You just know it's. I don't know just how to explain it. It comes naturally to an artist. You just sit and you just know. This is an example of something. Okay, a dog, but I know this won't give me what I want. Although it will still give me something close, but not exactly what I want. This one too. Someone walks into it, but so you know once you see something that no okay will work for your design, you know. There's a sixth sense. It's more like you just know. I don't know if I was able to answer your question with that.
Okay.
Actually,
Okay, but Babatunde, I did is the question treated? You can put your comment in the chat box and I will read it out. You can put your comment in your chat box. Um, okay, I think we have more many other people who came online and they went offline as well. And I can see Olabode Tayo. Sir, can you please, Mr. Olabode Tayo, can you please tell us what you do and at least we don't know we don't know, maybe you can get yourself maybe somebody who needs your service or somebody who you might be needing his or her service on this platform. So because this is also a mode of connecting. And if you have any question as well, I would like to hear you, sir. So Babatunde, back to you. Do you have any question? Okay, I think Mr. Olabody wants to speak. Let's hear him out.
All right, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, sorry I came a little bit late, but I was able to meet up in the aspect of the texture, the line, the balance, and the shape. What I do basically, I work with an insurance company, and most of the times, I'm not really into graphics of it, but it's something I want to learn. That's why I wrote for this class. So with the help of Mr. Melody showing us the steps and what we need to do, the guidelines put in places that for a design, for a design, yes, we shouldn't be so. Shows one of the flyers that when the context is much, tends to destroy the message you are passing. The aspect of alignment. So I was able to catch that. So that's what I was able to learn to this morning.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Olabode Tayo. Please, where are you joining us from? Let's just know your location to know whether you're somewhere close.
Okay, I'm from Oshodi, Lagos
okay,
State.
okay, that's nice. That's nice. Thank you very much, Mr. Melody. You did a very good job. Please, I still have one more question before we round everything up. And the question is, how do you market yourself and how do you meet your clients? How do you market yourself
the
and
world is okay. I can answer that. The world is a global village currently. Funny enough, you might just be there and be doing designs without putting them out. I keep on telling people, no matter how bad your design and at least you are trying, doing something, just put out your work. There are platforms you can just display your designs. people are watching, but then you don't know. But people are silently watching, monitoring your progress and all that. What are your designs? Instagram, LinkedIn, Dribble, Behance, Facebook. These are places you can showcase your designs, and you'll be surprised. Just bro, it's more like referral. If you're able to do a nice work for a person, good work. The person refers it to another person. Before you know, the person refers it to another person. Now you go in. Good work. The person refers it to another person. Before you know, the person refers it to another person. Now you go in. Put your designs out there. Let people know what you're doing. Don't hide yourself. Don't be scared. More like, okay, how people see me, how people think about me. I'm scared. I don't want to put out something they start laughing at me. Mistakes are common. If you don't learn from mistakes, then if you don't make mistakes, then you're not learning. That's just it. You're not doing anything. Make mistake, at least you learn. Okay, you know. Okay, yeah, this is not supposed to be done this way, and it should be done this way. Next time, you come up with something better. You do your research. You go to online, to YouTube tutorials. You watch videos. You try to replicate what they do. You do the designs, and you put it on your Instagram page, on your LinkedIn page, on your Facebook, on your Dribble, on your Behance. And that's how you grow. Before you know,
Okay.
people, connections are coming, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for that insight. For my own part, I think I'll rest for questions now. Do any other person have any question they would like to ask Mr. Melody? Do we have any question for Mr. Melody from anybody anywhere? Okay, I can see National Youth Council Ifelodu. I can see Eze Izu and Sodiq Balikis, and these are people that have not introduced themselves and what they do. Like I said earlier, you don't know, maybe somebody is here that will want to buy from what you sell, or somebody is here that you also might need their service. So I would like this set of people who just join us new to please just give us a preamble of who they are, what they do, and let's from there take it further. Anybody? Anybody? Or are we scared of sharing ourselves? Wow. Okay, without wasting much of our time, we slated 2 hours, 1 hour maximum, minimum, 2 hours maximum, and I think we've made the stamp of the 1 hour. The program was slated for 9, and I believe majority of us used our African time properly. Excuse my indulgence, and we've gone through the question and answer, and people has asked questions, and I think it has been treated about the class on how to use these tools Mr. Melody is using, and Roncloud will find a way to set up an online class as well, whereby you guys will come online and it will teach us how he's using these tools and how we too can use them. For me, left for me alone, I think I was exposed to concept, because my question is concept of design, and I think I get it, how he got the concept and how he formulated brings out someone else's idea into reality. That's a testimony from me, and I would like each and every one of us who participated to give us testimony. What will be their take home after this meeting? What do you take home? What will you consider as your take home from this meeting? Thank you very much. Can we hear some testimonies, please? Can we hear some testimonies, please? The floor is open. Or
who wants to speak first?
who wants
Anybody
to go
can go.
first? Anybody can go. Are we guys shy? It's an online class. Nobody is with
Who wants to
me
speak
flog.
first? Anybody can go.
So nobody is here to flog you. It's not your secondary school where they will beat you for speaking up.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for the class.
Hello.
So,
Thank you.
one chapter you have to
Thank you
be able to
for the class.
different things from
So,
the line,
from class, I have to be able to learn different things from the line, from
it
the
will help me very
texture,
much
balance, and and
exam.
it will help
Thank
me
you, Mr.
very much
Melody,
well
and the
in my
Mr.
in my
Roncloud
design.
Technology
Thank you,
too.
Mr. Melody, and the
You're welcome. You're
Mr.
welcome.
Okay,
Roncloud Technology
okay,
too.
I
that
really
was lovely.
appreciate.
Do we have any other person who
You're
wants
welcome.
to
You're
give us
welcome.
a testimony?
Thank you. I really appreciate
Yeah, anybody who wants to tell us what is
Wow.
our take home from
testimony.
this program? Because we've finally
Wow.
come to the end of today's program already. We've gone through a lot. Mr. Melody shared a lot of insight on what graphic design is all about, the things you need to look out to. If you are on with us from the beginning, you would hear when he was talking about the lines, the texture, um, the form, the shapes, and what have you. Okay, from this onset, on the group, we'll be getting information. There's a WhatsApp group where the message was passed. We'll be getting information of our subsequent classes, where you guys will be getting links to every other classes that we'll be doing. Now, Mr. Melody is one of our trainer who take us on graphics. There will be other trainers as well who will be taking us on other aspects of tech, things that are needed in tech, in the tech industry, and from there upward we'll be doing more other classes, and I will find a way to work up time where we'll be using either Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, and Mr. Melody will be taking us a class on how to use these tools to create craft designs and layout and brand up some projects or designs for us. So we'll meet shortly, and there'll be a recap of this training posted on our YouTube channel. So for those of us who partake in the training but would like a recall on what went on, a recall of this meeting will be posted on our YouTube channel, and it will be shared across all platforms. So I will say thank you, Mr. Melody, for your time. We didn't pay you a dime, but you fashioned out your time to take us on what it takes to be a designer, what it takes to be a graphic designer in particular. So I will say thank you very much, sir. Your presence is well appreciated. Your time is well spent. Thank you very much. So that will
You're
be
welcome.
all for today, and hope to see us in the subsequent classes. Thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
You too. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful day, everybody.